Alright, so then next seashell that I'm going to show you how to shade is actually one that I didn't show you how to draw. It's going to be this little seashell up in this corner here. So this little seashell, it's a little bit different than the snail shell or the scallop shell just because it has this circle here in the middle that is a lot wider than the tip of your seashell. So we have to remember that when we were doing our sphere, adding the values to our sphere, we had to have that darkness towards the bottom and it lightened up as it came up. And so on my drawing, I actually have my sketch of my circle when I broke it down into shapes. And so I'm going to use that sketch, those lines, as my guideline for where I want my values to be. And so we also know that each of the edges here on the outside also have to be a little bit darker to show that we have that curved motion going all the way across. And we also have to remember that our highlight is obviously coming from above where the camera's at. So we're going to have the highlight go down the middle, but we also want to have a little bit of darkness here around our circle, so that way it gives that illusion that it is wider and it starts to get thinner as it comes down to that point. So I'm going to, again, use the flat surface of my pencil tip. I'm going to start here on this edge here. So I'm going to add, again, light pressure because it's easier to erase when my pencil markings are light than it is to erase when my pencil markings are dark. So I'm just going to go ahead and add my darkest value here. I don't want too much, I just want a little bit so I can start to see it. And as you learn more how to add your values to your objects, you're going to be able to see and watch how, not just how your objects transform, but you're going to be able to recognize when there should be value and when there shouldn't. So I'm going to kind of, like I said, use my pencil stroke to actually keep this darkness here around my circle. And you can actually start to see, you can already see, it almost looks like it bubbles here and then it curves back out. And that's that illusion that we want to keep with it. And so I'm just going to add just a little bit more shade right here, just so we don't have so much of a bump. And you can already see how that little curve just already has disappeared. Okay. I'm just adding a little bit more. Again, keeping my curved motion like the circle. Okay. And then I'm going to actually turn it over here in this direction. Make sure we can still see it. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So because this side has this bump and this side's not as bumpy, you don't have to make such drastic pencil markings. And again, I'm going to curve around with my circle again. And again, it's gotten pretty dark, but that's something you can always fix with your eraser. That's the beauty of using pencil and erasers, is that you can always use the other one to help you the first one out. And notice I'm curving here on the end, and as I come towards the center, my pencil marking actually starts to straighten out. So it is fairly dark, but that's okay. We can always fix it as we go through. So just like we did in our our snail shell here, we want to give the illusion that our little sections are bubbled. So these are actually the same idea. So each of these little bubbles, you want it to be dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. So I'm actually going to start here with this second little S section here. So I want it to be darker, and then I get lighter. I want the sides to be a little bit darker, just to give that illusion that they're rounded here on the side also. And then same thing. And because it is a little bit smaller, obviously we don't have to shade as much. And again, remember, we have that eraser as our option, so always finish your entire shading first and then go back and take that eraser if you need to. You never know. If you finish the whole thing, you might find out that maybe you didn't need the eraser. Maybe it looks just fine once you finally finished it. So make sure you don't try adjusting your values with your eraser until you finish shading the entire thing. So this one here, because it is a bubble that is on top of this portion here, we want this portion here to be a little bit lighter than these other sections. And again, we want the edge here to be rounded, so we want to add a little bit more shading. And this side too, same thing. I'm just going to add a little bit more value here just because I want it to appear like it's underneath this bubble. And again, using my curved motion, okay, so I don't like that this section of my seashell is actually that dark. So again, I'm going to take my eraser. Try to make sure you have like a really nice eraser, not one that breaks apart very easily. And so just like we did in our snail shell, we're going to come in and just add a few little highlights. And you're going to see that these little highlights make the biggest difference. I'm actually going to add a highlight to this section here. And so just like I would my pencil, I'm actually using less pressure with my eraser. So in the middle I put a little bit more pressure because I want that section to be lighter. And then of course as I release my pencil, I'm doing like a wisp motion. That's when I'm actually releasing the pressure with my eraser. And you do basically the same thing with your pencil too. And that's basically it for that one. And of course, if you wanted to, you could always add in little details. Say I want this one to have little spots. You can add in my little spots. And of course, because these spots are a different shade or a different color on the actual seashell, they will be a different shade. It's almost as if you're taking your image and you are just turning it into a grayscale, turning it into black and white. And that's basically what value is. It's just the black and white and grays of an image. So when you add in your little details, depending on what it is that you're adding, I mean, you won't have to sometimes change the value of them. I mean, obviously these little dots, just because they are little dots, they're spots. I mean, they're going to be most likely black when they are on the actual seashell, or that maroonish brown. So you don't have to actually change the value of it. Just do these real quick. Notice when I make these little dots, I'm trying to keep them in a line, trying to keep them in a row, give them unison. Okay, that's basically it for that one.